Good day everyone. Are you ready to learn a new art movement with us? I am Bea Lagayada and I am with my partner Anabella Laguna today with me to discuss about Baroque. So let's get started. Baroque comes from the Portuguese word barroco, which means a regular pearl or stone. The word denotes a style that is intended to express feelings of vitality, grandeur, drama, and emotional exuberance. The theme of its painting and sculptures are still religious, however, more of the elements of the Catholic dogma. This is the Catholic Church way of counter-reformation against the rise of the Protestant Christians. The artworks depicting religious symbols and some mythological themes are monumental wall paintings and huge frescoes. These serve to educate the people about Catholicism.
But before we discuss further, let's go back to the history of Baroque art. The Baroque period started in Italy at the end of the 16th century. The period roughly spans from 1600 to 750. It all started in the 1600s in the city of Rome after the Renaissance. It defined a period of greatness and affluence for art and architecture. Soon, the movement expanded through all of Europe. It became very popular in France, Spain, and Austria. In comparison to the art during Renaissance, during the Baroque period in the painting and portraits were more detailed, used intense colors for religious and mythological purposes. The Baroque period was also known to be a period of extravagance and luxury for art, architecture, and music. The first artist to kickstart the Baroque period was an Italian painter active in Rome called Michelangelo Merisi di Caravaggio, known as simply Caravaggio. His work was dynamic, dark, and dramatic. He painted real, not idealized people. With a new sense of realism, his figures and twisted body movements were full of dirt, sweat, and tears. Everything was going great for him, and he produced many wonderful masterpieces. Artists used Caravaggio as a major influence to use his technique of chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is achieved by contrasting light and shade in painting and management of shadow to create an illusion of depth. The paintings are open composition, meaning the lines, shape, and elements make the image dynamic. There is a sense of movement in the picture. The eyes of the viewer moves from one area of the painting to another. Paintings portray strong movement using spirals and upward diagonals and strong color schemes to dazzle and surprise their audience. Another artist that specialized in Baroque sculpture is Gian Lorenzo Bernini. He was an Italian artist, arguably the greatest sculptor of the 17th century, known for having developed the Baroque style of sculpture. Bernini is also known for his outstanding architectural works. The greatest single example of Gian Lorenzo Bernini's mature art is the Cornaro Chapel in Santa Maria della Vittoria in Rome. The chapel's focal point is Bernini's sculpture of the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, a depiction of a mystical experience of the great Spanish Carmelite reformer Teresa of Avila.
At a glance, Baroque architecture resembles building techniques from the Renaissance. However, Baroque architects were distinctly more theatrical. In the area of architecture, Baroque buildings are highly ornamented, which creates spectacle and illusion. It's characterized by extremely detailed forms, marble, large-scale decoration, and bright colors. Baroque style was meant to represent the glory of the Roman Catholic Church. Churches mainly were adorned with stages to accentuate their glory. Domes and roofs were also enlarged. It can be challenging to differentiate between styles of architecture, especially when builders incorporate forms from various styles. Look for these key elements in Baroque architecture. So, first element is large domes or cupolas. These domes were generally positioned at the center of a building. Next is elaborate motifs and decorations. Details are incredibly intricate, which added to the extravagance and sacredness of the space. Third one is gilded sculpture on the interior and exterior. Statues were made from plaster or marble and included high contrasting colors and textures. So the fourth one is attention-grabbing features. These might include curved walls, painted ceilings, vaulted ceilings, column, sculpture, arches, niches, fountains, scrolling, broken pediments, and etc. Many of these elements give off a sense of motion known as dynamism. The last one is double slope mansard roof. This roofing element is a key feature of French Baroque architecture and was incorporated in many chateaux or country mansions. So the best example of Italian Baroque is San Carlo alla Quattro Fontane by Francesco Borromini. Borromini used complex geometric design to create the shape of the building. He experimented with complex curves more than anyone else in his time.
The music of the Baroque is one of the richest and most diverse periods in music history. Chamber music played an important role in family and community life. Families even have a specific room dedicated to music and entertainment. One popular instrument of the day was the harpsichord. Even though the piano was invented around 1700s, it really didn't become popular until the classical period. It also has a unique sound because the strings are plucked. Let's listen to the sound of the harpsichord playing Bach, invention number 8. Some of the best-known composers are Claudio Monteverde, Arcangelo Corel, and Antonio Vivaldi from Italy, and Johann Sebastian Bach and George Frederick Handel from Germany. The different forms of Baroque music are cantata, concerto, sonata, oratorio, and opera, which originated in Italy. First is the cantata, was another new musical form from the Baroque period. The cantata was an extended piece that was simply a succession of recitatives, arias, duets, and choruses. The cantata was a secular work, meaning that it was non-religious. Let's listen to an example of cantata. Next is the concerto, another famous musical form from the Baroque era. Until the late 17th century, a concerto was simply a work that united many different instruments and voices. It wasn't until the early 18th century that a concerto started to have its modern definition of a work that has a solo instrumentalist and an orchestra. The solo concerto would give the solo instrument the opportunity to show off their instrumental playing techniques. Let's listen to an example of Vivaldi's violin concertos. We also saw many sonatas in the Baroque period. A sonata is a work with several movements and will be written for one or more instruments. Telemann, Bach, and Handel wrote many sonata. The trio sonata was a famous sonata from the Baroque period and was written for two violins, with a basso continuo accompaniment. Some notable composers of the trio sonata are Antonio Vivaldi, Johann Sebastian Bach, and George Frederick Handel. Let's listen to an example of a sonata. An oratorio was another popular form in the Baroque era. The oratorio was similar to an opera in that it was an extended musical drama, but the difference being this was a piece of sacred music. The Renaissance period gave rise to this musical form through previous music forms such as the motet and madrigal, but the oratorio didn't actually emerge until the 17th century. Some of the most famous composers associated with this genre are Scarlatti and Vivaldi, but Handel popularized this genre the most. You may recognize the work Messiah. Let's listen to an example of oratorio. Opera was a very new musical form that had never been seen before. In the Baroque period, composers were drawn in by the drama of the opera. An opera alternates between recitative, aria, choruses, and dances. One of the earliest operas was Monteverdi's Orfeo, which was written in 1607. Monteverdi was an opera composer that was one of the first composers to use this genre. Subjects of these early operas were most commonly based around Greek mythology.
Now let's listen to an example of an opera.
And that is all. We hope you have learned something from the Baroque art period. Thank you and have a great day ahead.